Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back in PSGL F3 as we move straight from one of the most dramatic races on the circuit and the season, and I promise there's absolutely everything here tonight. We are back in Saudi Arabia for the 9th round of the season. There's only 3 races left to go, including this one, and what a dramatic race it was last week as well, when it was Melvin versus Milan Diossi for the win in the closing corners in the final lap of the Grand Prix, where it all ended badly for Melvin. Even though he won the Grand Prix, he got demoted due to a post-race penalty, which finished in P2, and those two were so far above the rest that the guys behind were a milestone so far away, and that tells you the dominance this season. It really displays the story of who is in control and who is so quick as well. And we've got Napoli then starting the flying lap. My name is Jeremy Morris, and alongside me tonight is Milan Langer, sorry. But the reason why I'm rushing the intro is because we started the intro a long time ago, and we thought the stream was running. So that's why it was a bit of a rush and tried to get everything in. So we'll try and get as much information as we can on the board. But right now, Napoli's flying lap is about to start on board with him, going down in towards turn 3. Milan Langer, I'm going to take you through it as well, because I'm going to go to get my glasses because I can't seem to find them.
Good luck finding those, but yes, we are back here in Jeddah after last week's spectacular race, very much towards the end with Melvin and Milan Diossi. Milan Diossi with 3 wins on the block in the last 4 races, definitely putting himself in as a very serious championship contender along with Maiko. And Melvin needs to win tonight if he really wants to have a chance of still being in that fight. So we'll see what the McLaren driver is going to be able to do. But the Williams of Napoli is the first one out on track and on his flying lap, keeping it nicely out of the barriers, which sometimes can be quite difficult around this track with 27 corners, the most corners out of every track on the calendar, as there's the McLaren on the left hand side who will not be in the way of the Williams, sweeping through turns 21 and 22 and now flat out all the way towards the final corner, turn 27, where we saw Max Verstappen had an accident back in 2021 in qualifying. Let's see if the Williams driver is able to keep it out of the barrier as they go into it, and sure seems like it coming out of it. DRS will be open in a few seconds time, and the first lap time on the board from Napoli will be a 27.093. But I have a feeling that that lap time is definitely going to get beaten. Mighty Wombat in the Haas, always early out on track. Will it be quicker than Apple? Not quite, with a 27.3. Right behind is one of the Kick Saubers. It is Francesco going quickest with a 26.7. The first driver to go into 126s, and 3/10 ahead of Napoli. There were brief yellow flags there. Coming to the line as Noxine Aston Martin goes second with a 26.9.
Indeed it is there. So that's your first lap on the board there from Francesco with a 26.7 there. Nikito in the Racing Bull, or in the Red Bull, shall I say, so I got confused between the liveries, but that is a new livery. Slapped on that Red Bull as he makes his way through turn 16 and turn 17. It can punish the drivers heavily as well as you scrape the wall at the exit of turn 17. Now the DRS is wide open on board with the German driver as he heads down towards turn 21 and turn 22. And that is super close there towards invalidation. Luckily, Lakito just got away with it, just tried to maximise every single part of this racetrack as he now builds towards high speed coming towards the last corner. Turn 27, Milan Diossi goes quickest with a 26.041. 7/10 clear. That was the pole margin last week, which was 7/10. Unbelievable. As here comes Lakito towards the line. Now he goes up into P6 with a 27.116, and that is the exact same lap time as Passi in P5 and a half as well. But what a blistering lap from Milan Diossi in P1. Melvin set a 25.5 and he was 7/10 clear of just Baton in P2 in Mexico, and I was surprised he didn't win the race considering that pole lap time, but Milan Diossi was close in. Milan Diossi, however, is doing a superb job as Melvin goes in towards P2. Melvin desperately needs a good result this season. He has, but at the same time though, he's had some bad luck, especially back in the Spanish Grand Prix when he couldn't string it together. Qualifying was bad for him, ended up in the midfield, and unfortunately got wiped out. He was an innocent bystander and lost his whole wing, and his race was ruined from there. We didn't catch it on the stream, but we saw somebody's POV, and Melvin was just caught up in the middle of nonsense and shenanigans there. But hopefully it's clean this time. It really has to be. Oh, spinner in the background. That's a Mercedes. Is that a junket angle? It must be, because just Baton is in the pit lane, and junket angle spins or spun where Carlos Sainz spun back in 2020. what I believe it was, I'm not quite sure. He was on the mini compound tyres in Q2 trying to get to Q3, but that's where Mick Schumacher crashed as well. Back in 2022, Schumacher's had a lot of crashes around here, 2021 especially, at turn 21, and then at turn number 12, where he spun as well and hit the wall, and unfortunately put the car in half, unfortunately for him as well. But at the top, it is Milan Diossi then, who is in good final form and rhythm so far, and has a 26.7. I do believe Paul's lap time from F2 was a 25.9, and he's only 1/10 shy of the pole lap time as well. Provotox is in P3. He's also another driver to watch interestingly as well. Scored a podium back at the British GP, but he has been there and thereabouts. He's a driver who just tends to creep up every now and then. And KDRDN as well in P4, who always shows some good performances, always inside the top 10, is KDRDN, and he scored points in the last 6 races too. As well, his last point scorer was at Mexico when he finished in P10, same at the British GP as well. Francesca in P5 makes his debut, I think, here at Saudi Arabia. So let's see what he could do for the Kick Sabakan. But so far, we've got quite a few people without a lap time. P12 down to P18, and we know how notorious this track is. It is so difficult. You've got to get absolutely spot on, hitting every single braking point as well. For good measure, get back on the accelerator, just narrowly missed out the walls too. Let's see what Ryan does as he now rounds off the final corner, gives a bit of a wall there, a love tap, as the DRS is wide open for him. He goes across the line, he goes up into P6 with a 26.951.
Decent lap time from the McLaren, putting him right behind the two Kick Saubers, but like I said, still quite a few drivers still need to set a lap time. One of them is one of our championship protagonists, D'Amico, still in pit lane in the Alpine, has been incredibly consistent so far this season, finishing every single race inside the top 4, and like Milan Diossi, on the podium in the last 5 races. So it's going to be a matter of time before we see him right there with his rivals Milan Diossi and Melwin. And as you speak of him, he's going out on track right now in the Alpine. The two Mercedes drivers also out on track. We saw Junkie Angle had a bit of a moment on his first attempt. He's back out on track though, and it's his teammate, Jos Betan, who has just started his flying lap, who was very impressive in qualifying last week in Mexico, but really couldn't quite convert it into a strong result in the race, unfortunately for him. But let's see what he is going to be able to do on this attempt here in qualifying, going nice and smoothly there through Sector 1 with a 31.766. Now going through the very long and sweeping left-hander there of turn 13, and accelerating outwards, flat out towards this chicane where it's very easy to hit the inside wall. I think he might have brushed it very slightly there on the exit. Also quite easy to slam into the outside wall, and now DRS will open for the first of 3 consecutive times around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. And we now will round off the second sector with a 59.9, under a minute. Running over the curb on the outside, and now it's going to be flat out all the way towards that final corner once again. Used up quite a bit of battery, but you just save something as well when you accelerate coming out of the final corner. Otherwise you will run out in time, as a lot of drivers going out now for their second runs. But the Mercedes driver is going to come towards the finish line. Let's see where this will put him. Could it be along the drivers at the top? Only P6 in the end, with a 26.8 behind the two Kick Saubers. And we'll keep an eye out on the second Mercedes as well of Junkie Angle, who made a mistake on his first run coming out of the first sector. Right now it's looking quite nice indeed, having to be mindful of that curb on the outside, can drag you along. This one here as well, much better through here on this attempt, as there's a McLaren on the left hand side, 31.6, as Mighty Wombat. I think he has crashed there at turn 4, the infamous corner here around Jeddah, where it's so easy to crash out. I think he might have hit the inside and knocked his front left wheel off, which is not great news for him, as he will be starting from the back of the grid. So Junkie Angle making his way through the middle sector. Let's see where he is going to be comparing himself towards his teammate. Could be under a minute as well. To the second sector split, 59.4. That is much quicker than Betan, around 0.5 of a second. So he could put himself up against Provotox in P3 right now, who was also on a flying lap. But Junkie Angle riding on board with him, going towards the final braking zone, where we saw Verstappen have that crash back in 2021, but a bit of a moment on the exit, but I don't think he's lost too much time with that. Will it be P3, as Noxie has gone just ahead of Provotox, but here comes Junkie Angle, goes ahead of the pair of them with 26.2, almost 3 tenths clear of the Aston Martin. Meanwhile, Milan Diossi and Melvin both out on track as well. De Michael is making his way through the final chicane, but I think he's backed off on this lap. He might have, so a lot of drivers out on track. Milan Diossi still at the moment, but goes off track there at the exit of Sector 1. I think he backed off from that as he lost 4 tenths of a second in the Ultra Jets. So Milan Diossi has to recharge and try again on the next one.
Quite a lot of people here as well making mistakes on their second flying lap, given the punishment they are as well. The car is taking, the tyres are taking as well, and trying to find the absolute limit around this racetrack, the 5.8 kilometer circuit. Junkie Angle, unfortunately, for him, I've always seemed like he's been the outsider. He's always inside the top 5, top 6 every single race, but he's never really excelled, has he? He's always had the pace, but just can't seem to go one step closer and try and challenge for the front of the field. We've got Melvin now coming towards the end of the first set, so let's see what he does. He's down by 0.15 of a second as we dive in towards turn 13. And we saw a great overtake from Lawrence Stroll around the outside of somebody, I think it was Carlos Sainz at the time, a couple of years ago. And we saw Latifi crash there too. Now coming through turn number 16 and 17, hesitant, hits the wall. And unfortunately, that lap time has been ruined, but he wasn't up anyway. He was down in the first sector, and it is so punishing. 27 corners around here, and one of the longest circuits on the calendar. And one little mistake could ruin your entire lap time and evening as well. So we've got to find the absolute limit, try and push as well every single time. KDRDN, once again, doing a great job. He's up there in P4, usually does have good qualifying results and does have a tendency to score points as well. We've got 5 minutes left in this qualifying session, and we've got a few drivers then on their in laps just making mistakes. I'm trying to find a driver who is currently on a flying lap, and I can't seem to find anybody so far, as the majority of people here have made quite a few mistakes. Few validated as well. By the way, I think I saw Francesco make a mistake at the exit of turn number 11 and 12, so he had to back out and he dived back to the pit lane. But on board with the Wizard down in the P14, which is the Granddada, he exits the final corner now. He was up by a couple of tenths of a second. Let's see what he does across the line. He stays P14. And in fact, unfortunately for him, does not improve despite improving in the middle sector. So all that lap time is ruined in the final sector. And as you can see, the pressure is ramping up as all the drivers, or majority of them, have made mistakes. So on their second run, not a lot of people have improved, and a lot of people unfortunately falling victim to this circuit, which is absolutely punishing indeed. So it is Milan Diossi who's on provisional pole position, our championship leader in first place. In second is Melvin, and he desperately needs a good result after his problems in Spain. He's had a massive setback and further away in the championship as well. Whilst there is a null on the circuit, let's read out the championship standings. So in first place is Milan Diossi with 89 points as well. The most wins he's had so far this season, the most driver with the most wins this season. And as you can see, my voice is going because I'm still ill. And in second place, it is D'Amico on 86, 3 points behind Milan Diossi. Melvin P3, 72 points, and he's currently 40 points behind D'Amico, and he's 70 points away from Milan Diossi. Polymachi is in P4, but we do know that he was the man that dominated the first 3 races. Australia, Bahrain, Belgium, and also USA, which was, I think it was in Kota. No, Las Vegas, Miami, I think it was. Junkie Angle in P5, 49 points. His best result was P3. Scored points every single race this season, has Junkie Angle. Like I said, he's always been there, but unfortunately just can't seem to put it together, try and get himself a podium or a win. His last podium was back in the Belgian Grand Prix in the second race of the season, but he is a regular point scorer. Provatox is P6 the championship with about 26 points, so he's quite far back in comparison towards Junkie Angle, and he's picked up 1 podium so far, which was back at the Spanish Grand Prix. I believe he took pole, but unfortunately could not convert it to a win, as Milan Diossi was the one that won that day. Evan unfortunately left. He was a contender. He had such good pace back in Belgium and in USA. 2 podiums out of 3 races, but unfortunately the man has left. He did comment in the comment section at the British GP. I think he damaged his ankle or sprained his ankles. That's why he's not racing so far. But what Melvin and also Edvin would have been a good lineup as well, because those two were very quick. He's on 23 points. KDRDN's in P8 with 23 points as well. And like I said, he scored points in the last 6 races out of 8. So he's done a mega job so far this season as KDRDN. Levi, who scored a podium back at the British GP, I believe, in P9 in the V car. In fact, yeah, he did score a podium, but he had a DNS back in Mexico and a DNF back in Spain. He hasn't really picked up many points as I thought he would. He's currently on 17 so far. The Granddada around to the top 10. with 17 points, and yeah, he's also one of those drivers that has good pace, but not enough to be up there as well. Now we've got a flurry of cars out on the circuit with about 2 minutes left to go in this qualifying session, and so far it is Milan Diossi who occupies first place with pole position. So let's go on board with him, see how it unravels, and see if he improves or not. Both LP drivers, D'Amico and Kingsman, the IRT driver in P18, both haven't set lap times either, and that is very worrying for our championship contender protagonist in P17. Milan Diossi, his rival, is first place, and Melvin, his other rival, is second place, whilst he's down in 17th place. D'Amico has got a lot to offer in this last part of qualifying. A lot of pressure is on his shoulders, and I wonder, can he deliver? Because now he's only got one lap, one chance, which means the pressure will be higher. His nerves will be kicking in, mistakes will start creeping in as well. He needs the absolute perfect laps because it's going to be first, or it's going to be like inside the top 10 or 17th place. He can't afford to validate whatsoever. Milan rounds the final corner as we start the last flying lap around here in Saudi Arabia. The pole sitter, the provisional pole sitter, is headed down in towards turn 1, braking on the 100 metre board, slow the car down, herd the car in towards turn 1 and turn 2, try and get the best exit possible without wheel spin, hugging all the apex in towards turn 3. Now turn 4, it is a very difficult corner indeed, super close to the wall. Now back the throttle, and you're on the throttle 80% of this lap with 27 corners, flicking the car in, concentration direction, carrying the speed all the way through 11 and turn 12, lean on the curb on the outside, good exit there as well, on the power, using the battery. His first sector is down by a tenth of a second, headed down in towards turn 13, this sloped downhill corner, now using all the exit on the outside, but Napoli has got a 5-place grid penalty for collision with Akito, and Akito's in P7, so he'll not be happy with that one. But now Milan flicks his car through 16 and 17 we go, on the throttle once again, constant sweep of direction. This track is high speed corners, DRS wide open once again, and all you're thinking about is turn 21 and turn 22. Flick the car in, carry the speed through, avoid the wall on the inside too, using all the curb on the outside. Very nicely done indeed. He's threading the needle through the most important parts of the track, and now one more task to do, which is focus on the braking zone. Heavy braking zone incoming now, 100 metre board, down through the gears we go, in towards third, a bit of hesitation as he flicks the car in, back to the throttle as well. The rear car seems unstable, but here comes Milan Diossi. Can he improve? Can he get himself inside the 25s? He can't improve, and he stays on pole, but can anybody out there dispatch him? I'm about to find out now. Melvin's up in the first sector by a tenth of a second as well. He's on an absolute flyer. Is the McLaren driver with the DRS wide open. He's got a car in front of him, which is his teammates, who might give him a distant tow. But Melvin is down in the middle sector by a few hundredths of a second. And Milan, I'm going to give it to teammate because my voice is going.
This could cost him very much, but he does get a little bit of a slipstream towards his teammate, but I don't think it's going to be enough to at least improve, and let alone improve in March enough to beat Milan Diossi out in front is by over 1/10 of a second. D'Amico says the exact same lap time as Milan Diossi, but he said it later, so D'Amico will only settle for second. And Melvin with a brilliant final sector, 26.036 to top 3 within 5 thousandths of a second. Where did that come from? From Melbourne in the final sector. He was down by almost a tenth of a second, and then he found around 2/10 in that final sector. That was absolutely incredible stuff from Melbourne, taking pole position with a 1:26.036, and Milan Diossi and D'Amico second and third, both within 26.0415 thousandths, separating the top 3 in this qualifying session and the top 3 in this championship fight. Wow, look at that.
Can you believe what we're seeing here tonight as well? And shout out to D'Amico, he delivered under pressure. He had to. He set the exact same lap time as Milan Diossi in P2. So that's P3. The top 3 in the championship are first, second, third, but in mixed orders because Milan Diossi is the one that's leading this championship. Now, we're going towards this 25-lap race. High-speed corners, DRS game, strategy involved, and lots of overtaking is possible tonight on the cars as well here at the Jeddah Cornish circuit. Been around since 2021. It's supposed to be there since 2020, but obviously we had COVID, so its first introduction was back in 2021, and boy, what a race that was as well, with plenty of controversy and action as well. We saw 2 red flags and multiple safety cars as well. Max Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton for the title fight, and we saw Hamilton hit the back of Verstappen because Verstappen was slowing down to give Hamilton the place after I think some shenanigans happened earlier on when Verstappen overtook Hamilton off the track in towards turn 1 and turn 2. And Hamilton went on to win the race ahead of Verstappen. Bottas picked up a podium after getting after Esteban Ocon on the final lap. He dragged him towards the line. But yeah, 2021 Jeddah Grand Prix after its first introduction, it was absolutely mega. This race, though, has been a bit bland and dull in the last couple of races. I think 2025 was one of them as well, and 2024, I don't really remember much from the races here in Jeddah. I remember 2022 when it was Verstappen versus Leclerc and Hamilton make his way back to the field after getting knocked out in Q1. 2023, but Verstappen had that alternator failure, I think, and started in 10th place, finished in P2 behind Sergio Perez, and Alonso finished in P3 after getting his penalty reinstated, or podium reinstated after getting a penalty for whatever reason that was. And 2024, I think it was Verstappen, Perez, and whoever finished in 3rd place, because I generally do not remember much around this circuit. But we do expect a lot of action, drama around the circuit, given the nature of the track as well, with 3 DRS zones and plenty to play for as well. We're going to see a lot of DRS trains and possibly as well gamesmanship here in Jeddah. But what we saw last week between Melvin and Milan Diossi was fireworks, especially in the stadium section where fireworks were lit, as we saw Melvin and Milan in action. Sorry, you can excuse this because I'm still ill, so I can barely speak, but yeah, it was a great battle. I think Melvin had to do it because it was all or nothing, really. He had a big gap behind, so he thought to himself, why not? Let's just do it. Let's see what happens. He did it, and he got the space back on Milan Diossi, but the stewards thought differently and gave him a penalty, which is fair enough. He tried to do something. It didn't really affect him in the end because he stayed in P2, and he had the gap big enough for the guys behind to stay behind him as well. So he had to do something, and it was a great lunge. Milan, unfortunately, fell victim towards that, but justice was served, and he got his win back as well. I'm sure Milan Diossi would have loved to win on track, but still, a win is a win. But with 3 races left to go this season, everything is to play for in the championship. Melvin is trying to make a comeback drive after his dismal race back at the Spanish Grand Prix. No fault of his own, but in this short span of races in a season with only 12, you've got to be absolutely perfect. Yes, you can have 1 or 2 bad races, but you can't afford to have too many, otherwise you're at the championship immediately. It's all about consistency, it's all about momentum as well. Get the ball rolling straight away and try to build up those foundations to get the championship on his head. So all 3 of them had their fair share of mistakes, but Melv's had the biggest one because that blunder in Spain has really cost him. It wasn't his fault, but still, everything matters in the championship, whether it's strategy, hard racing, whatever. But here we go for the Jeddah Grand Prix, and what has happened there? Ryan's jumped the start.
Restart.
Is it?
A restart.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you for telling me. I would have got so confused.
As everyone has a lot of fun going in towards turn 1, retiring as quickly as possible. It's a lobby restart due to Naples 5-place grid penalty, and they're going to restart the lobby. So we'll have to leave, and we'll be back very, very soon to get this race going.
We're back with you shortly, as there is a lobby restart after the penalty that was given in qualifying. It was a 5-place grid penalty, so everything will be restarted. So hold your horses for now, and all the action will happen very, very soon in the race. And hopefully it's a good race. I'm expecting it to be a good race as well, given the close the compact drivers as well, being super close, and the margins being razor thin as well. So hopefully it is a good clean race. So expecting a lot of things to happen, but we never know until later on. So we'll see what happens. But back in Mexico, it was Milan Diossi who won. with Melvin in P2, and Mikey was P3 in no man's land, but at least he put the points that was necessary. So we'll see you all later. For now, the stream was obviously still going, but we're just taking a short break to get our voices back, especially me, because my voice has been going since the very start. So that's why I can't really speak properly because I'm still ill. So yeah, hopefully that goes next Monday. I was wanted to come back desperately because it's been 3 weeks since I commentated for any league. So yeah, it was 3 weeks, and I wanted to try and get some practice in as well, ready for next week. Hopefully when I'm better, but you never know. Illness can't be resolved very quickly. But we'll see you all very, very soon for the race in Jeddah. Good evening and welcome back to Jeddah as we now get set for the 25 laps around one of the fastest and most unforgiving street circuits on the calendar. And after a dramatic qualifying session, it was Melvin Everman who lines up on pole position, just 5,000 clear of his championship rival Milan Diossi. With him on the front row, Iravas that continues to find the season. Behind them, Michael sits with third with strong pace, and Junket Angle and KD Odien, a completely tight patch top five, all strike with a distance if the leaders are put a foot wrong. And further back is the likes of Pavatox, Noxie, Ryan will be eyeing up progress early as well to see how the race develop and strategy course, and let's see what happens with safety cars too, which can be prone around here. I think we had a safety car every year around in Jeddah, every single time we've raced there as well. Jeddah demands absolute commitment, high speed, direction changes, walls inches away, and no margin for error over these 25 laps. One mistake, and the race could be flushed down the drain dramatically as well. And championship on the line, implications at the front, and chaos always lurk around the corner. And this one promises to be relentless from lights out to checkered flag. We've seen many dramatic moments before in league racing where it could all go wrong for drivers. And we'll see a massive DRS train as well. And undercuts can be very powerful around here too in Jeddah. It should be a simple, normal one-stop strategy. I don't think nobody is going to attempt the two-stop strategy. That'd be absolutely ludicrous, I think. But I think it is a one-stop strategy, isn't it, Milan?
I believe so. It is. Although Tower can be a little bit high around here, but the one stop is definitely doable and definitely quicker than a two stop, especially when you run in those DRS trains. When you go for a two stop and you're not in a DRS train, you will lose a lot of time in those three DRS zones. So you definitely want to go for the one stop. I remember last season very well when we drove around here as well, around Jeddah. I think we had an early safety car, and quite a few drivers pitted for their final 4 hours sort of hearts to try and make it to the end. One of those drivers was Stefano in the Williams, and he was leading up until the last lap when he got a rear left puncture, I believe, which costed him the win. So you have to be mindful of that as well. And we do have an early safety car. It's not going to be very easy to make it all the way towards the end of the race because tire can be high around here. Just look at Stefano. He unfortunately lost that race, the championship eventually as well. So Jeddah, of course, it's already quite difficult on its own with the wall so close. But tire wear can be an issue as well, but normally it should be quite a relatively easy one stop with not too many tire issues.
Yeah, exactly. You are right, by the way. I got a memory of that now when I think it was Jeroen Visser who won the race after Stefano sustained a puncture, took his tyres way too long than expected, and Jeroen had dominated the race there for McLaren as well, as McLaren took 3 wins in a row. Polimachi is not here tonight as he was the one that had a great start to the championship campaign this season. He was the one that was leading it, and he won 3 races in a row and has been promoted, I think, towards F1. So good luck to him. I think F1 has started right now as well, so starts alongside F3. I think F2 is done and dusted. Obviously, I can't watch it live because I'm commentating for F3 right now, but it was a great qualifying, I think, and it was a 25.9, which was the pole time, same as the pole time here. No, it's not. It's a 26.0, so we're just shy of a few hundreds from the pole time in F2. The drivers getting ready, putting the setups on, and looking at the fuel, the strategy as well, discussing with the teammates, team members, and see how it all goes down in the next 25 laps or so. And this should be hopefully a thrilling one indeed. We've always seen some great action here, Jeddah, with its overtaking, possible carnage, chaos, pandemonium. With 3 races left to go, everything is on the line. We've got 2 races in the Middle East, 1 in Brazil, in South America. So we move on to the Brazilian Grand Prix next week. And the last race of the season will be in Abu Dhabi, as Abu Dhabi is usually the showdown for the championship as well. I think the championship will go down to the wire unless something dramatic happens to our championship protagonists, Milan, D'Amico or Melvin. But Melvin's so far behind, he needs to get his act up, and he only had 1 bad race. It was back at the Spanish Grand Prix when he finished in 12th place, and I think his rivals, D'Amico, finished in P3, and Milan Diossi won the race as well. Spectacular win from Milan. He's won 3 races this season, the most of anybody excluded Polimachi. He's also won 3 races too this season. But Milan Diossi, 5 podiums in a row, 6 altogether out of 8. And let's see what he could do here tonight. And can he boost his championship aspirations? Can he get a good lead on D'Amico? He's been on form so far ever since the first race of the season. Belgium, And the USA Grand Prix was a bit of a setback for Milan Diossi. Couldn't get it right, but he still scored some delivering points there as well and mattered. And he's built his championship campaign really nicely as well. The pieces are coming together for Milan, but we know D'Amico and we know Melvin, they are both very quick drivers indeed. And sometimes the likes of Junkie Angle, Provotox, KDRDN, Levi, some of those drivers can get involved from time to time, but the top three have been the main ones to focus on this season. But we do see a few outsiders who like to support the party, and let's see if any of those guys decide to support the party. And D'Amico too. Delivering a lap under delivering a lap, never mind, let's talk about it later. But here we go then, for the lights out. We are underway here in Jeddah. The lights are out, and it is go. Melvin gets a good start. He's up into first place or maintains it. Milan Diossi's under pressure now from D'Amico as we swoop through turn 1 and turn 2. The drivers filing through the corners very nicely. There's 3 abreast in the background like there was back in 2021. There was a massive crash there too, but looks like some drivers get out unscathed. And let's see as we file through turn 4 and turn 5. The Haas goes off the track there, but gets back in it, and no further contact indeed. Looks like every single driver's got away unscathed. As I say that, there's a few people picking up penalties already in this race. There's a Williams who goes off the track there as well for good measure, and it is Napol who drops down in towards 80th place, but Melvin gets a good launch and he maintains the lead of the Grand Prix so far. The McLaren in the background, that is Ryan in P7, who had a great race back at the British GP. He absolutely defended for his life back in Silverstone. He's up into P7 now and behind his train. But so far it's Melvin who leads with Milan Diossi in P2 and D'Amico in P3. Got a lovely launch and he was unchallenged in towards turn 1. Milan and D'Amico were side by side going through turn 1 and turn 2. But Milan Diossi won out of those guys as well. They were also bunched up as well as expected around here. I think a slight mistake happened there as well as Napoli goes for a little bit of a spin or a venture somewhere around the circuit. But here comes Milan immediately on Melvin for the lead of the Grand Prix. He's not hanging back so far, not playing the long game. He's going to go for it immediately down into towards the final corner. So it is Milan Diossi is the one that leads this Grand Prix. And D'Amico is right behind Melvin too. DRS will be activated, but not yet. As we see the RP driver tucked in right behind the McLaren driver. And the McLaren's also at the back of the racing ball as we head down towards turn 1. Single file so far. It is Milan who leads this race.
We're going to see this a lot in this race, swapping around for the lead, especially through this first stint. So Milan Diossi might now be in the lead of the race, but I have a feeling that Melvin probably will try and re-overtake when the DRS will be activated at the end of this lap. But it's all single file. There's a penalty there for Bassi, and now Alamico as well in the Aston Martin, picking up a 3-second time penalty very early on as Ryan has been overtaken. I think he's gone straight on. He might have hit the curb on the outside when skating off track. Now has fallen down to P10 as something has happened to Alamico as well. He has spun coming out of that same corner, or like a few corners later, and he's dropped down to 17th place. So not really what he would have hoped for. Same could be said for Naples, got front wing damage as well for good measure in the Williams. Look at the gap that Milan is already putting towards Melvin. It's 9/10 of a second. It will not be enough to drop him outside of DRS range. And now Melvin with the triple DRS will be right at the back of the RB once again when we go towards turn 1. D'Amico is following closely as well. The Alpine going slightly wider. Might have picked up a warning with that moment. Cannot do that too many times through this race. Junkie Angle still staying close in P4, but KDRDN putting the pressure on the Mercedes driver as well. Currently in P5. Then it's Noxie under pressure from Profotox in the Ferrari. Then a little bit of a gap now already towards Bassi in the Haas in P8. But now the gap's 4/10 of a second between Milan Diossi and Melvin. Will the McLaren driver try to go for the move? He's going to the inside, so I don't think he is as we go on to the second lap. And with the fastest race driver Profotox looking to go to the outside and towards turn 1, but not quite close enough to make that move. Once you're in that DRS terrain, it's just so difficult to overtake, as that is just Beitan going to the inside of Shiny Diamond and making the move. Put himself into P11. Alamico has retired in pit lane, becomes our first retirement, unfortunately, here at the end of lap 2. There will be no points for the Aston Martin driver. Now everyone apart from Napol is still in this DRS train, covering the entire top 16. But I think there's a few drivers who might have picked up a little bit of front wing damage through that opening lap, and it was very close there between Ryan and just Betel. Now the Mercedes trying to move up the order. Down in P11 was so far up the order back at Mexico in qualifying. It's currently sitting right outside the top 10 as the two leaders now separated by half a second. A little bit closer than he was on the previous lap. But I don't think Melvin has got any intentions at the moment to overtake Milan Diossi, who is staying comfortably out in front of this race. You don't want to fight too much, of course, in this first stint. It's definitely going to heat up at the very end of the race, at the very end of the second stint, in those final few laps. Once again, between Milan Diossi and Melvin. It was Demaiko who went for a two-stop last week at Mexico, and it did not pay off for him as he fell behind and was unable to reclose the gap towards the two race leaders. Let's see if he's going to go for the same strategy this week, as he has one too many times have been caught off guard by strategic mistakes in this season. Currently still very close to the back of his two rivals up ahead as we go on to lap 4, as it has remained unchanged from the previous few laps, as that is just Baton now trying to find a way past Ryan, but unable to do so. Up ahead, Profitox looking to get past Bassi, is losing position. He's left the session, so disconnection there, I think, for the Ferrari driver, which is not ideal for him, and very unlucky, as he will fall behind into the clutches of the cars behind, and he will definitely hold them up as well, losing a lot of time, the cars behind him, and now completely dropping out of the DRS train, which is not what they needed. Francesco now getting past up at the P8, but the gap's already done, the damage has been done, as the gap's now 1.3 seconds towards the top 7.
Indeed, once you use the DRS around here, it is so frustratingly difficult to get yourself back in there under a second as well, because you got 3 DRS zones and you see the guys ahead of you just pull away, but Francesco's managed it. He's got the gap just under a second, or has he? Because the gap's now 1 second between himself and the Haas driver in P7, so I don't think he's got the DRS. No, he hasn't. That's going to be very painful, very, very painful indeed, and it looks like he could be the one dropping outside the DRS range and forming this second group then. So there's a second group from P8 downwards, followed by Ryan and just Baton in P10. Due to the expense of Profitox leaving, unfortunately, he's down in P12. Profitox, unfortunately, has left the session. But here comes KDRDN on the back of the Mercedes drive. I don't think KDRDN has got a podium this season. He has 6 points finishes in the last 6 races. But here we go down on the main straight then, with the DRS wide open for these cars as we head down in towards turn 1. Is KDRDN? Yes, he is. Down the inside in towards turn 1. And that is a very lovely lunge there for KDRDN. I do think his best result is P4. And he's currently sitting where he matches his result. But here comes Mercedes. No way he's to come out and move going down the inside. That's that corner. Given the structure of the nature of that corner, it is very, very sharp indeed. And you can't afford to go side by side there whatsoever. As Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda, as Kimi Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel, when those two make contact back in 2021, you don't want to go side by side because you lose all the momentum and all the time. So it's best if Junkie Angle sits behind for the time being and goes for it once again. Oxy is in P6 there in the Aston Martin 2, just hold on as well on the back of this DRS trip. But Milan Diossi, you know, his pace has been very good as well. Look at that. The gap's over a second as we got Williams, who's had become a bit of a cropper at the exit of turn 3, so might have gone for a little bit of a spin there. He has lost his end plates, has Napoli as well. So it's going from bad to worse, unfortunately, for Napoli, and just can't seem to catch a break this season due to the bad luck he's had as well, given as well last season where he really did struggle. But look at the gap between second and third as well, 1 second. So Milan Diossi has got some really good pace if he can get that gap over a second. But the problem is, though, the DRS is so powerful. Melvin's been drawn closer back towards him, and we could see another special between Melvin versus Milan Diossi, as Demaiko is getting a bit detached from this train as well, struggling to stay with the DRS range. And we know how tough this circuit is. We've got the dirty air, how effective that is as well. Don't forget, the engines overheat as well, the tyres suffer, the aerodynamics of the car really do suffer as well. It takes a big punishment and beating, and that's why a few people could struggle to stay with the DRS range around here too, as the top two then separated by 0.6 of a second. So it could go down towards Melvin versus Milan. And Demaiko now, unfortunately, has been dropped out of the DRS range, and it could be under massive pressure from KDRDN right behind in P4. I just saw Melvin there just skate to the curve to exit turn 11 and turn 12. Really around the curve as well. Could be very careful because that could put him off the track as well for good measure. But Demaiko has dropped out of the DRS range fully. So he's Junkie Angle as well. So looks like some guys are struggling to stay with the DRS range of each other. And we could see some personal battles then between each different drivers, different groups forming, and the top two then pulling away from the rest of the field, which is really good news for them as well, trying to bridge that gap and create a race for themselves. We can sort it out. But Demaiko now is falling in the clutches of KDRDN in P4. KDRDN 5 tenths behind, looking for his first podium of the season, and it's in front of him as well, right in front of him to take him. The guy ahead doesn't have DRS, and let's see if KDRDN makes the move. Let's go on board with him. Yes, he does, side by side with Demaiko. And in the background, there's a Haas and the Aston Martin going side by side too. Let's see what happens going in towards the final corner. And as you can probably tell, my voice is going once again, so that's why I'm struggling to speak around here tonight. But the Michael's coming back towards KDRDN. The DRS is wide open, and he retakes P3 for the time being. Then so looks like, oh, down the inside goes Noxie in towards turn 1, and he's up into P5. Junkie Angle, that's been his main kryptonite this season, unfortunately. He doesn't seem to have the pace in long durability, and he just seems to lose the DRS and lose pace towards the guys in front. That's been the main story so far for Junkie Angle this season, and he keeps falling down the field, unfortunately. Down into P6 he goes now. Noxie's up into P5. But yeah, Junkie Angle, he's got some good pace. He's consistent in terms of picking up results. But at the same time, though, he's not able to follow the guys ahead. He doesn't have that raw pace or speed to stay within the guys' DRS range.
Indeed, it does. Down to P6 he goes. He's been very consistent, like you said. But not quite in the same ballpark as the top 3 in the championship. And speaking of that, Demaiko 1.7 seconds. This could be a defining moment in the championship, dropping outside of the DRS range compared to the top 2. Meanwhile, KDRDN has dropped behind a little bit as well, but he's got a little bit more ERS to play around with and is able to get himself back within that DRS range. But the gap's 1.8 seconds between Milan Diossi and Melwin, and that gap will continue to grow when Melwin has DRS 3 times a lap compared to Demaiko, who doesn't have a single DRS throughout his lap. KDRDN will reclose that gap, but the gap's now over 2 seconds, and it seems like it's starting to become a two-way fight between Milan Diossi and Melwin. So Demaiko will have to think of other ways to get back close back to his championship rivals. Might have to start thinking about a potential undercut to put himself back within that fight. Currently still under pressure from KDRDN in P4. He's doing an exceptional job, it must be said. As he has finished fifth, he's finished P5 3 times this season, but never quite on the podium yet. And tonight could be a real opportunity if he keeps this pace up. Noxie in the meantime, he is close to the gap as well, now towards KDRDN to under 1 second, and bringing Junkie Angle alongside with him in the Mercedes, and so is Passi then in the Haas, and everyone down towards the Grand Data in P13. So it'll be an Alpine sandwich, this DRS train at the moment, although Noxie is quite close to dropping out of that win. The question will be who's going to make their pit stop the first, who's going to try and go for the undercut. Look how close KDRDN is once again to the back of Demaiko. Well, at the front, Milan Diossi and Melwin still out there, and I must say the pace from Milan Diossi so far has been very impressive indeed. He still is managing the battery as well, and is able to pull the gaps towards Melvin, who still has that DRS every single lap. Napol in the meantime has retired, not really a surprise, as he will not score any points unfortunately tonight here in Jeddah. Not the first time this season. A man 25th in the championship, only 1 point finished to his name this season, which was a 10th place at the Monaco Grand Prix. As KDRDN goes to the inside once again of Demaiko, but I reckon we will see a re-overtake down the start-finish race with Demaiko slingshotting his way past Kicksauber once more, but he's really not gaining anything. Oh, and that was KDRDN going into the pit lane. Bit of a miscommunication there between himself and Demaiko. Was trying to get past him, but KDRDN very last second switched to the inside to make his pit stop, and luckily for Demaiko he did not get any front wing damage from that. But Kicksauber going in for an early pit stop, and going from the mediums to the hards. Following him in is Ryan in the McLaren. So those are the first 2 drivers to make their pit stop in this race. Profitox I don't think is rejoined yet, so looks like he will not score any points tonight either. But let's see where KDRDN, what is this going to bring him, and what is it going to do for the drivers who are still staying out? Will they respond to the Kicksauber making his pit stop? I don't think Melwin and Milan Diossi are very vulnerable to the Kicksauber making that undercut, because the gap I think was around 3 seconds once they made their pit stop. But Demaiko definitely will lose that position if he pits at the end of this lap, and he is struggling a lot. Demaiko, look how much he is struggling through these corners, misjudging the inside there as well, and the gap's now grown to 4 seconds. The last thing he needed in this championship fight is lose out to Milan Diossi by what could be a potential 6 points, which could be a massive deficit to make up for in those final 2 races. As he currently running in 3rd place, followed by Noxie and Junkie Angle close behind. But let's see if anyone else is going to pull into the pit lane to make their one and only pit stop towards the hard compound tire. Milan Diossi looks like he is staying out. No, he hasn't. Putting into the pit lane. Melvin is continuing on though in the McLaren, but Milan Diossi, our race leader, putting into the pit lane, going on to lap 10. whilst the McLaren driver staying out. Also into the pit lane is the Maikos, responding to that early pit stop made by KDRDN. Also Noxie in the Aston Martin coming in, so is Lakitu, Mighty Wombat in the Red Bull and the Haas, but a lot of drivers still staying out and wanted to continue their stint. Let's see where KDRDN is going to be compared to Milan Diossi, who is coming out of the pit lane right there. The kick sauber is just behind, so that is a massive undercut from KDRDN, who is now within DRS range of Milan Diossi. Ryan is going to be ahead of the Michael. Oh, Milan Diossi he's crashed at turn 4. Our championship leaders crashed out in turn 4, hit the inside wall. Safety car has been deployed. That was absolutely the last thing he needed in this championship fight. Had the opportunity to outscore his rivals by quite a bit of points, but now he is going to walk out of this race with 0.
Walk out this race empty-handed and lost his left front tyre. I can't believe it. I was on board, I think it was with the Alpine driver. I can't remember at the time. It happened so fast. Yeah, I was on board with KDRDN, and I was riding on board with him to see what happens, if he got the jump on Milan or not. Like, it almost gave me a heart attack because I looked up as I read the championship standings, trying to get the maths calculator right. Then I look up and Milan hit the wall, and that gave me a heart attack. I was like, I couldn't believe it. But Melvin has been absolutely benefited. He's licking his lips. This is exactly what he wants, because he had a bad race back in Spain, barely scored any points. And now Milan Diossi is the one that's not scored any points either. This could really help with the championship. And Milan Diossi, with a small mistake with big consequences, the championship could have turned on its head. Let's see. I think Melvin will definitely get ahead now of the Michael, so you don't have to worry about the undercut threat from the LP driver, because he's at reduced speed, whilst Melvin can get on a hardcore power tyres and get out in the front of in the lead of the Grand Prix. But I think that Michael could lose a few places. He could be stuck behind. Yes, he is. He could be stuck behind a few cars. Let's see where DeMichael rejoins. He's reduced speed. He can't go any faster than this. He's got to respect his delta. How many places is DeMichael going to lose? Remember, he was net P2 before all this happened. And let's see, where will he rejoin? Oh my goodness me, that is painful. That is very, very painful for DeMichael. I feel so bad for him now. His championship rival caused the crash, the safety car, and his other championship rival, his protagonist, has benefits from this. This is a big, big shot for Melvin in the championship, because the pendulum now has completely swung towards his way, and he's going to score some massive points here tonight as Melvin. And he needed this as well, because he was so far behind. I think he was 70 points behind Milan Diossi in the championship, and you get a 12-4 win, which means he's going to be 5 points behind Milan Diossi if he wins this Grand Prix. He's still got to finish the job. Can you believe what we see tonight? Massive turnaround in this championship. And look at the two kick salvers, KDRDN and Francesco. Francesco's now up into P4, the rookie, making his debut here as well. And the kick salver for PSGL F3, up into P4. Kingsman, wow, he's got to do 14 laps on the semi-mini-car powered tyres, which can be doable. But remember, Stefano picked up a puncher last season too, when he took the hardcore power tyres a long way in the race. But Milan, can you believe it? Milan Diossi is out of the race.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. Huge stuff here for the championship, and actually gets 16 points for a race win. So if Melvin does end up winning the race, he will only be a singular point behind Milan Diossi. And yeah, DeMichael was well down in P12 because of that. He was already struggling before that, so I don't think it's going to be easy for him to get those positions back. So this is an ideal scenario here for Melvin, because I think he's definitely got the pace to beat the drivers behind him, and it could be quite an easy victory for the McLaren driver, which would put him right back into the mix in the championship. And it's going to be a very enjoyable last 2 races of the season. But man, Milan Diossi throwing it all away when it matters most here in Jeddah. And well, we'll see what the damage will be in around 13 laps time. But if Melvin wins this race and DeMichael scores a couple of points, I think Milan Diossi will go from P1 of the championship all the way down to P3. So huge for the championship.
Yeah, indeed. I was sorry about that. I was rewatching the replay on the stream, and it's just so unfortunate. You know what I mean? He just came in the pit lane on brand new hardcore power tyres. The hardcore power tyres are still cold, so he's tried to warm them up, and just misjudged just the tiniest mistake made, just misjudged turn 4, which is such a sharp corner. He flipped the car in, hoping for the best as well, and just hit the inside wall, which caused him to retire and DNF from this race as well. So Milan, well, if that's the reason why he lost the championship, then so be it. But he's still got 2 races left, and he will still be the championship leader no matter what happens towards the end of this race, because he's got a big gap. Well, maybe not, because D'Amico's still there in P12. Let's not forget the gap between D'Amico and Milan Diossi is only about 3 points. Without looking as well, I need to go check the championship standings because I haven't quite fully looked at it yet. So I think the championship is 3 points between those two. Yes, it is. So now this is a big chance for D'Amico to retake the lead in the championship as well. I know he's down in P12. He's been heavily screwed over by Milan's mistake, ironically as well. His championship rival has screwed him over despite him DNFing. But he's got a lot of work to do, D'Amico. He had the pace to be up there in P3, but there's a lot of cars to negotiate, and it's not going to be an easy task considering how close these guys are in terms of pace. The safety car is at the end of this lap. Now the question is, though, is Melvin going to pull away? Because we know his race pace is so strong. Whilst on the flip side, on the other hand, Junket Angle does tend to struggle with his race pace in terms of longevity as well. Can he stick with the DRS range of Melvin? Is Melvin going to break free and get ahead and break the DRS range against Junket Angle? Because if he does that, that would mean Melvin is settled for the rest of the race and can just not relax, but still try and keep the guys behind and out of threats. And let's see what happens then towards the second half of this race. The safety cars completely flipped things on his head, and away he goes. He caught Junket Angle napping. Junket Angle is under massive pressure from the 2 kick sabers right behind as we now head down in towards turn 1 we go. Is there any moves? There's a Williams with the inside. That's Kingsman. He's on the medium compound tyres. He starts the hard, and we go through turn 1 and turn 2 with Kingsman up into P4, gain 1 place, and now Knox is side by side with the Grandadder as we head down in towards turn 4. I can see D'Amico's under pressure in the background, but I think he's just got ahead of Nikita. He's on the inside is the Red Bull driver, but D'Amico defends from this and stays in P11. However, though, D'Amico, oh, there's a Haas who's going to go in the wall. He has hit the wall. He's hit his teammate too for good measure, the mighty Wombat. So both Haas come to blows, unfortunately. I think the Haas made contact with Nikita on the inside in towards those fast speed corners, and both Haas hit each other as well. Ryan, however, has lost out towards just Baton in the most unusual place, it must be said, but I think he went wide at turn 13, and now Baton is ahead. Has Ryan got damage? I don't think he has. The way he's driving the car seems like he's got a lot of understeer, unfortunately, in that McLaren. It seems the way in turn 13, a lot of steering support was necessary there for the McLaren. But however, Melvin is pulling away, and Junket Angle is off the track then. So this could be Melvin's chance to break free of the DRS before it's activated. Here comes the Kick Sauber side by side with the Mercedes, and KDRDN is looking for his first podium of the season. What about a win? Is the win there? Is the pace too much there for Melvin? Can he try and get towards the McLaren driver? But we'll see if he can or not. But Melvin has pulled away now. He has set the fast up of the race, and the win is pretty much in his sights now as we head down in towards turn 1 we go. Let's see where D'Amico is. Still in P11, hasn't really made up any places except one, but he's right behind the Racing Bull driver of Shiny Diamond. Now, D'Amico, it's like a juxtaposition, really, as Prophet Talk says during about the race. He's got to be very careful. He's got to make his way through quickly and clean, patient, but at the same time, he's got to really push. I know it's counterintuitive for D'Amico there in P11, but in this championship race, anything could happen. He can't afford to make any sort of contact with these guys. He's got to make sure he overtakes them cleanly without any contact, because penalties could be applied after the race too. So he's really got to try and find his way through these guys as quick as he can, but as careful as he can. I know it's a sort of juxtaposition, but that's the way it is in racing sometimes. You've got to be very careful as well. Plan your moves at the right time. You can be very meticulous and planning in terms of overtakes as well. But KDRDN is 1.2 seconds away from Melvin, so he's trying to get himself back in that DRS range to have a chance of a potential race win. But Melvin seems to extend the gap more and more and more every single lap. His pace is absolutely rapid here tonight. Is the McLaren driver trying to make up some lost ground and redemption after what happened in the Spanish Grand Prix, when he himself came into controversy with, I think, a few drivers in the midfield. As we head down towards turn 27 we go, D'Amico's on the back of the racing board. The problem is, though, he's stuck in this big DRS train. He can't move anywhere, as Junkie Angle is right behind KDRDN and look to go for a move towards turn 1, but backed out of it.
Like you said, D'Amico needs to get a move on. He needs to score some good points because Melbourne, he's checked out of this race. If he keeps it clean, if he keeps it out of the wall, he's going to win this race, I think, very, very comfortably. But D'Amico, that is right up ahead. The McLaren hitting the wall, and he's out. Another safety car as the McLaren has crashed out in a very unusual place because I think he went wide through turn 4. Then when he tried to rejoin, he hit the inside wall through turn 5 and knocked his front right wheel off as the McLaren of Ryan now out of this race. And just 5 laps or 3 laps after the safety car came back in, we've got another one as Bernd Maidan had to get back out on track, and the advantage that Melbourne just gained has been gone out the window. And now I wonder if some of these drivers might, at the back potentially, might go into the pit lane to make a pit stop to potential medium set to make it to the end. So it might not be as plain sailing it is then for Melbourne, because his teammate has just ruined that strategy for him. He was out in the lead comfortably 1.5 seconds and extending, but now the gap will be back down to a couple of tenths of a second as KDRDN and Jung Yang and everyone else is able to close that gap. So it's going to be interesting to see if anyone is going to be pulling into the pit lane to go to the mediums. Potentially some of the drivers are at the back who really don't have a chance. D'Amico, to be honest, if RN, he could pull into the pit lane and go for the mediums. He will have the better tires than the drivers ahead of him. Overtaking would become a lot easier, and with only 10 laps to go, I think you definitely could make it to the end on a set of mediums. At the front, nobody is going to make a pit stop, it seems like. So everyone is still staying out. Lakito in the Red Bull is going to pull into the pit lane. D'Amico stays out as well. Mighty Wombat pulling into the pit lane as well. And I think Profitox might be doing that too in the Ferrari. So only the last 3 drivers are going to make a pit stop to a brand new set of mediums. Everyone else staying out on the same set of tires, and I think it might be a little bit of a missed opportunity there for D'Amico.
Yeah, possibly. I think it was I agree with you there, because D'Amico is so far down the order. Why not? Why not go to a new set of mini-compound tires if he does have that at his disposal? Maybe a new set of hards if he has chosen the harder or better strategy. But yeah, I agree with you there. I think the fresh tires would have done him wonders, but yeah, he's got to deal with he's got to deal with that now in P10, unfortunately, and we'll see how many places he can make up. There is 10 laps left to go in this race. It's very important for D'Amico to get as many points as he can. What's funny as well, what's ironic is that he's trying to get as many points as Milan Diossi, but Milan Diossi was the one that caused him in the situation despite Milan Diossi retiring. So that's the situation that D'Amico's put in, and Melvin has been benefited as one of his championship rivals has been screwed over, and whilst the other one has crashed, screwing the other one over, which is very funny and ironic indeed. But obviously it's not funny. But yeah, Melvin has pulled the DRS gap once again. And let's see if he can do it for the second time in this race as well. He pulled the DRS on Junkie Angle in 1 lap. But KDRDN is right behind him. And KDRDN has got some decent, impressive pace in the kickstart. I really do hope he gets a podium as well this season, because he deserves it. And he has been there in those DRS fights as well, in those DRS trades, but just can't seem to move forwards as the guys ahead have just got some really good, strong pace as well. And I think where Ryan crashed is the same place as Lando Norris crashed, I think, back in 2026 this season, when last year in 2025, when he crashed in qualifying, started 10th place and finished in P4-3. I actually can't remember. Do you know what? My memory is so bad when it comes to previous seasons, and I can remember things from like 10, 20 years ago, or maybe more than that. But when it comes to like races previously, like last season, 2024, I just tend to forget for some reason. I'm not quite sure what it is. It can't be short-term memory loss, because obviously I can remember things from years and years ago, but I don't think that the races this season or last year have been pretty much exciting as the ones as they were previously as well, with better racing. So yeah, I can't remember where Lando Norris finished last season. Can you?
I think it might have been P4. I'll have to check. That's for sure, but yeah, he did crash back at that same corner, but was a little bit of a different accident, I think, when he lost control at the exit of turn 5 rather than going off track and then hitting the outside wall. He did finish in P4, in the end, so it was a decent comeback. But then it was his teammate who was dominating the early season. Of course, we all know how that ended at the very end. But yeah, Ryan then crashing out, and his teammate paying up the price for it a little bit. Of course, we know he's still going to be the quickest out in front. KDRDN, his tires are 2 laps older as well. And we just know how quick Melvin has been so far this race. His pace has been incredible. And I forgot to mention, but since he's got that pole position, he will get an extra point. So if he does win this race, he will be tied on points with Milan Diossi. He will get 17 points. So they will be tied at the top, depending on where the Maiko finishes. Of course, at the moment he's down in P10, so he'll only score 1 point. But if he does finish in P8, that will be quite something, because then we have the entire top 3 championship all tied on points with 2 races to go. But yeah, we've got 8 laps to go after this one. The question is, will the safety car go in this lap? I think we have to wait until Bassi closes up, but I think he's already quite close to the back there of Prozox. And there we go. So safety car in this lap. We've got 8 laps of racing remaining, and Melvin will lead the way for the second time.
I can't wait, Milan, to see what happens in the last 2 laps of the Grand Prix. It could be a showdown like it was back in Mexico. We've had some really good races this season. It's been enjoyable to commentate for PSGL F3, and I'm glad the attendance is good as well. But is Melvin going to run away with this like he did in the first safety car restart when he pulled that gap over a second, or is KDRDN a actual threat this time around as we see them backing up in the final corner? And that is a very good place to go. KDRDN has suffered massive wheel spin in the final corner, couldn't get the exit he needed. That was a very, very clever thing from Melvin there, and very good race indeed as we now head on to lap 18 out of 25. 7 laps left to go in this race as we head down in towards turn 1 again. Do you know what? That second safety car has really helped Kingsman as well in terms of reducing the tyre wear, because we did say towards the end of this race that the tyres could be a problem for Kingsman, but I think that the second safety car really does negate that and really does help him. So let's see if it does or not. Coming in with P4. Look at that. Melvin is absolutely flying out there as well. He knows this is a big, big chance to close in on the championship. He could possibly overtake Demaiko for P2 in the championship, but Melvin's going for broke here as well at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. He took pole, which is the another point, and if he wins this race, which he should do, he should be tied with Milan Diossi in the championship. This is going to be a showdown in the last few races. And Demaiko, well, it's unlucky. It's not his fault. It's not in his control really. It's just one of those variables that happens in racing. You can't really predict or tell what's going to happen. You can't really control when a safety car comes out. So it's not really his fault, unfortunately, but that's going to cost him massively in the championship. And funnily enough as well, that's been cost. That blunder for him has been costed by Milan's mistakes as well, as Milan was the one that unfortunately retired, and Demaiko suffered that as well in P10. Well, he's right behind Shiny. Side by side we go in towards turn 27, but he can't. Yes, he can around the outside. That's a good move there. And Demaiko's up into P9. Just damage limitation as now the 2 racing bulls go side by side as we see Lakito up into P10 and behind Demaiko. Here comes the Haas 2 up the inside in towards turn 1. Let's see, can he make the move stick? He's wheel to wheel now with the racing ball. Just enough space. Bit of banging wheels going on between those two as well. Junket Angle is right behind KDRDN and puts him under all sorts of pressure. Let's go on board with him to see what happens there as well. But KDRDN has got a massive trademark right behind him too, for good measure. Melvin has pulled away, he's checked out. There is no threat whatsoever. All he needs to do is control this and don't make any sort of silly mistakes, because he knows this is a big, big chance to score some big points here tonight and bring the championship down towards 0 and be tied with Milan Diossi as well. And he knows as well that this is very crucial in a short championship like this, where every single point, every single opportunity counts, and he needs to grab this opportunity by both of his hands as well. Yes, I'm really, really struggling to talk now, so I do apologise about that. I'm really, really ill, so hopefully I can be better soon. It's just really difficult to talk at this moment, but I think DRS has been activated. Oh, Angle is off the track, and Kingsman there could take advantage. Kingston is on the medium compound tyres. The DRS is wide open for the Williams driver. Will he make an impact? Will he make a move? Not yet, but he does have to make an impact because he's on the medium compound tyres, and we know at this stage in the race, the mediums go off. He's side by side with the Mercedes, almost in the final corner, but now ducks in his slipstream with the DRS wide open on that Williams. Let's see, can it make a move going down in towards turn 1? Here comes Junkie Angle with the DRS, but stays. But there's contact in towards turn 1. He's lost his wing. Oh, Kingsman. He's outbroke himself and hit the back of the Mercedes driver. What a shame. he was in a good chance for a podium, but unfortunately has lost it now with his broken end plate after he hit the back of the Mercedes driver in towards turn 1.
Very unlucky indeed. Front wing damage will not help his case, especially not when the tires will be falling off in the final 5 laps. So he is going to be a sitting duck. I fear for him as the gap continues to grow now towards Junkie Angle, around 0.8 of a second, and it will be difficult to stay close to the 2 drivers just ahead of him then. And he will be under pressure now from Francesco in P5 in the second Kick Sauber, followed by Noxie, then the Grandada, then Just Beta, and D'Amico still sat there in P9. At the moment, unable to move any further up the order to P8 or P7 potentially. It's his teammate up ahead there, the Grandad and P7. So is there anything he can do to help out his teammate to get past the Mercedes? Or will he still be stuck behind for these final few laps? As Melvin Everman, he's now leading by 3.3 seconds. He is absolutely checking out of this race this time. I think he's for sure with 5 laps remaining. So he's doing a very good job. He's doing what he needs to do and just win this race. Score maximum point as the Michael now put the pressure on the Mercedes. Will have to go to the outside line, going in towards the braking zone. Will have to go the long way around the outside. Francesco and Kingsman fighting it out as well, just up ahead there for P4 as the Michael gets almost squeezed into the wall. As the Kick Sauber now tries to go around the outside, hasn't got any battery left, and the Williams still put there on the inside, has to go wheel to wheel going in towards turn 1. Later on the brakes goes the Kick Sauber all the way around the outside, and that is a very nice move indeed from Francesco to take away 4th place. This could be a very good result for the 2 Kick Saubers, as KDRDN still run there in 2nd place. Meanwhile, D'Amico unable to get past the Mercedes down the front straight and still sat there in P9. What's happened? Oh, that was just Beta with a bit of a connection issue, as I thought he went off track there, but still ahead of the Alpine, still in 8th place as this massive train all the way down towards Passy in P14. As Noxie now very close to the back of Kingsman, and he's just struggling so much with this front wing damage. He's already fallen out of DRS range, almost there towards Francesco, and he will continue to fall further down the order as the laps progress. So we've got 4 laps to go after this one. Melbourne now 3.8 seconds ahead. KDR then still in 2nd place, and Junkie Angle will be looking to take away that position, but will he go for it now or will he wait until the very last lap of this race? As Francesco goes straight on there and really nearly hits the wall there and upon rejoining. And now he's got 7 tenths behind his Kingsman. Here comes Noxie in the Aston Martin, trying to go around the outside of the Williams in towards the braking zone of turn 27. Is there anything Kingsman can do to defend the inside, as they are once again side by side on the exit? But it's a much better exit there for Noxie, as Kingsman struggling with those mediums. There comes the Grandada as well, trying to go for the double overtake. We'll have to go the long way around the outside in towards turn 1, but there's a Kick Sauber just up ahead, and Noxie will defend the inside, and there's the Mercedes of Just Baiting going to the inside. Meanwhile, D'Amico is getting attacked there by Lakito on the mediums, and D'Amico is going backwards rather than forwards, and he's now dropped down to P10, whilst behind it is Profitox and Mighty Wombat fighting out as well. It's super close here, just outside the top 10, but this was not what D'Amico needed, as he's fallen back down towards P10.
Indeed, then massive fight between all the guys in the midfield, and I think Kingsman is becoming an obstacle in the way now. Here comes Just Baton, switching left and right. Now he's thinking going down the inside into towards 13, and I think Kingsman backs off knowing there's not worth fighting, considering he does have that for wind damage after hitting the back of Junkie Angle a couple of laps ago into towards turn 1. There's 3 laps left to go, and the dream is there for Melvin. The dream of winning the race finally after a few tries and a few slip-ups. He made a move down the inside, which was penalty worth, unfortunately for him, after he slipped into P2. He won the race initially in Mexico, but he lost it due to a post-race penalty due to his contact with Milan. But this time round, he is in first place, he is in control, and he should be the one to win this race. He should have no threat whatsoever behind, and he can't afford to make any mistake now, because this race is truly in his hands. As we see now the Mercedes on the back of the Kick Sauber again. Here comes Noxie side by side with Francesco going down in towards turn 1. Side by side, Noxie gets a better exit around the outside. A much better slingshot launch he needed, and the DRS2 for good measure. Here comes the Alpine. That is not D'Amico, that is the Grandada looking to take 2 for 1. As we head down into turn 1, we go to Sauber, just lays the brakes there, going through turn 1 and turn 2. And Francesco, who lost 2 places, now back up into 4th place. He got compromised with a great braking late breaking skills there. My voice is truly good, unfortunately, and struggling to speak there as well for good measure. But the Granddaddy in P6, he came out of nowhere. He hasn't really been talked about much in this race. He started at P16, horrendous qualifying there for the Wizard in P6, but now he's hunted down Noxie and also Francesco as well for 4th place. However, Junkie Angle is still keeping KDRDN honest in P2 and keeping on the back of him too for that P2 spot. This is going to be Junkie Angle's first podium since, I think, the Belgian Grand Prix, since the first or second race of the season, and KDRDN's first podium too, and we'll see who takes second place on the road. But Melvin in first place keeps extending that gap bit by bit, which is exactly what he needs to try and win this race, and also try and remain level pegging in terms of the championship, in terms of Milan Diossi as well, because him and Milan Diossi, if it stays this way, they could be tied for the championship as well, and it could go down to the wire in Brazil and also Abu Dhabi for good measure. So let's see how it all falls. But right now, we're keeping on board with these guys. Melvin at Angle is trying to go around the outside of KDRDN in the final corner, but can't seem to do it. But should have the DRS on this lap, on this main straight. He pulls to the right side, and KDRDN's go defensive, but there's nothing he can do to repel the attack from the Mercedes driver. Or is there? Because he's going to go back down the inside with a lovely lunge. Breaks later, but the Mercedes gets a better exit. The exit of turn 2, side by side between Junkie Angle and KDRDN. It looks like Junkie Angle gets ahead for the time being. There's no need, really, between these two to fight that hard. Because if you fight this hard, which means the guys behind can get themselves back in the DRS race. So that's a bit unnecessary, but good for us in terms of entertainment and good fighting. But yeah, you don't really want to put yourself in jeopardy, especially with the guys behind charging at you as well, because Francesco's 1.3 behind. He get about 7/10 due to that. He was 2 seconds behind, and now he's 1.4 seconds behind. So I think these two have got to watch out for the Kickstarter and Co behind, with the Granddaddy in P52 and Noxie P6 there. But Melvin, the gap is 7.3 seconds then. You can coast home as well, because the checkered flag will be decided very, very soon as well. He's only 1 lap away from victory, but Junkie Angle, this battle still continues. I guess who's closing in? Francesco is closing in as well, as Junkie Angle backs off there, stays behind the Kickstarter driver for the time being, as Francesco has joined this battle, but too late, unfortunately. He spent a lot of time squabbling with the Granddaddy, Baton and Noxie, and especially as well with the Maiko in P10. But here comes Angle. He does not go for the move for the time being. He waits for the final lap of the Grand Prix. DRS will be enabled for Junkie Angle as well. Let's see. He should be able to get him down the main straight, unless, of course, KDRDN has battery. As we head down towards turn 1, KDRDN goes to fence for the inside. And Junkie Angle does not go for it. He's waiting for the very final moments of this race, the very final lap of this race too. Francesco and the Granddaddy go side by side through turn 2. As the remain wheel to wheel at the corner in turn 3. Let's see if Granddaddy can make the move. He can. He puts himself up into P4. And this would be his best result of the season if he could stay there as well. But the main battle is going on between these two, Junkie Angle and KDRDN. The battle for P2 and P3. They'll both get a podium. KDRDN's first podium of the season, and Junkie Angle too. But Francesco's got a 3-second penalty for cutting corners there. And I think he pits for another one as well for good measure. I'm not quite sure. But while all that's happening, the battle, well, not the battle, but the man in first place. This is redemption for Melvin Everman in first place after a season that's been defined by frustration, losing points in Spain, having victory slipped away in Mexico by a post-race penalty. Tonight he delivers when it matters the most, calm under pressure, decisive when the opportunity arrived. Melvin has controlled this race from the front and capitalised on a costly mistake ahead of him, which was Milan Diossi. This win will drag him back in the Championship 5, clawing back virtual ground, reminding everyone why he's still a genuine title contender. It hasn't always gone his way this season, but in Jeddah, Melvin Everman gets the reward his pace has deserved, and he makes his way now towards the checkered flag, and Melvin wins the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. What a fantastic victory for him. KDRDN will finish in second place ahead of Junkie Angle. It's his first podium of the season. Congratulations, what a race from KDRDN. Patience was king, and he finally delivered when it mattered, and a big opportunity arrives for him when it mattered the most as well, and he took it by his hands. Junkie Angle, his first podium since the Belgian Grand Prix, will finish in third place. But what a race by Melvin. Finally capitalised, finally delivered, and he should be the one who's tied with points with Milan Diossi. Milan Diossi, unfortunately, crashed it towards turn 4, and it has a massive turnaround on the championship. The pendulum has gone towards Melvin's way, but the Maiko is also one of the biggest losers too, because he loses a lot of points towards Melvin in first place. But what a race from Melvin, Milan. Fully deserved.
Yeah, incredible stuff from him. Did what he needed to do in the end and got maximum points. And would you believe it, D'Amico finishes this race in P8, meaning the top 3 in the championship will all be tied on points going into the last 3 races. Absolute insanity here for the championship fight. But indeed, a very well-deserved win there from Melvin from pole position, fighting it out with Milan DLC early on. And once the RB was out, he controlled this race through those 2 safety car restarts as well. Executed them perfectly, and in the end was victorious by almost 9 seconds ahead of a very happy KDRDN getting his first podium of the season. Junkie Angle as well, once again with a consistent result, and both the Grandada and just Beton with strong comebacks from 16th and 15th on the grid to finish P4 and P5, with Lakito in 6th place. And Provotox, after disconnecting earlier, finishing in a strong 7th place with D'Amico. In the end will be disappointed with that, but all caused by his championship rival crashing out. He finishes in P8, so with 2 races to go, it's all to play for the top 3 in the championship, who will all be tied on points.
Can you believe it? Unbelievable. Can this championship battle get any closer? We saw it last season. I think it was Luke versus Stefano versus Wards. That went all the way down to the wire. We thought that Luke was the one that was going to win the championship, but unfortunately, he picked up a drive-through penalty in Brazil, and that cost him the championship. A very small mistake cost him the championship indeed. He had it all in his hands. All he needed to do was finish inside the top 10, but even then, the championship was decided. The championship was decided after the race. I'm not quite sure if you heard that, my lad. Did you hear that?
Not quite. It was a bit of a stutter in there.
Melvin was celebrating. He was in the game chat celebrating. I'm not quite sure if you heard on the stream or not, but I was so confused what happened there. But yeah, he's in the game chat celebrating. I could hear him for some reason, even though we're both in party chat. But yeah, it was decided after the Brazilian Grand Prix, wasn't it? When Wards got a penalty and Stefano won the championship after the final race of the season. It was unbelievable indeed. We're having a very close showdown between all 3 of them once again here this season in PSGL F3. Don't go anywhere. We've got Brazilian Grand Prix and also Abu Dhabi to decide who wins the championship in this intense battle between Milan Diossi, Melvin and D'Amico. But Milan Langer, thank you very much for commentating with me. It's been an absolute pleasure again. I've tried my absolute best to commentate despite my situation, so yeah, apologies about that.
Yeah, you did awesome, mate, so thank you as well. It's been a pleasure and good to have you back after missing out last week, but it was a pleasure as always. Hope you feel a little bit better next week for those final 2 races, because it will be hectic, it will be awesome, and it's going to be great for the championship fight as well. But it was a good race once again, and I'm looking forward to those final 2 races and to see which of these 3 drivers will come out on top as the champion.
Exactly. So we move on to the Brazilian Grand Prix, and I really hope that my illness goes, especially in the last race of the season, because I don't want to turn up sandal, groggy, and stuttering all the time and ill. So I really hope this illness goes away. But of course, it's winter, and unfortunately, my body suffers in the winter. So yeah, it's a shame. But we'll see you all later. Goodbye for now. We move on to Brazil.